Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkandbutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. This one is for our Project Share Project video hop. Okay, so we are casing the Cassie. So we've got two catalogues that are in publication at the moment. So there's the annual catalogue and then there's the mini catalogue, which is kind of like the Christmas and seasonal one. So it's this one. Okay, so we're doing, getting past the point where we need any more Christmas cards. So I turned to the annual catalogue for this one. I thought we'd bring out some of the oldies but goodies. So I actually got drawn to this page here. Lots of stuff all about texture in the first instance, but so I was playing with a few ideas or whether I should use some of this other stuff, but actually it was this card at the bottom of page 127 that I thought was really cool, partly because it uses colours that I don't usually use in an interesting combination, and it brings back this nice stamp set called Thoughtful Expressions. Okay, so this is my interpretation of this card. Now I did intend to do the circle, but what I stamped didn't quite fit into what I wanted, so I ended up just squaring it off. But again, it's inspired by, okay, so obviously we've got the mossy meadow in the background. I don't actually know whether that's mossy meadow. That could be old olive, but I went with mossy meadow. A yellow and a pink. This looks like petal pink, which is what I used there. Not sure which colour this is. I ended up using crushed curry. So yeah, this is my interpretation. And then this strip down the side, which I believe is some designer series paper down the side there. I actually used some heat embossing on there. So that is just clear heat embossing, but because it's on the dark card, it kind of looks almost black, but in the light you can see that it's not black. Okay, and then the twine I've brought in like this on the panel. So I don't like twine to go round the actual card on the inside. I like the inside to be clean, so I always wrap mine around a panel. So that's my interpretation of this card with thoughtful wishes. Okay, so of course what we're going to do is we're going to recreate this. I'm going to use some different colours, but use that as the sort of inspiration, and go from there. Okay, so let's get cracking with that. We'll pop that to one side. So it's very exciting for us demonstrators at the moment because we've already seen the new mini catalogue that's coming out. So you'll have seen people sharing new products already, but I'm sticking with what we've currently got, what you can get your hands on. Okay, so Thoughtful Expressions it is. It's a cling stamp. Okay, and I'm going to flip this around and use some blues. I'm going to use Night of Navy. So Mossy Meadows in the neutrals, and so is Night of Navy. So I figured I'd bring this in today. So it's a Night of Navy card base. Then I cut a Night of Navy panel at 3.5 by 5.25, and then I've got some crumb cake that's a little larger to layer that onto. I've then got a square piece of basic white and then a layer in crumb cake. The white measures 3 1/8, I think. Yep, 3 1/8, and obviously the crumb cake is a little bigger at 3 1/4. Okay, so that's our layer there. Okay, so there's lots of stuff to piece together on this one. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll do the background ink on this little piece here, so I can show you how I did that. So this is a technique that's sort of floating around a bit. A few people are doing this at the moment, and I don't think I've ever really done it, and it's what we call smooshing. Okay, so there's loads of ways to do this. So I've opted for using Stampin' Up markers Just for a bit of control, and I'm using Fresh Freesia and Coastal Cabana as a bit of a contrast with the Night of Navy. So these markers are water-based markers with a dual tip, a brush end, and like a bullet. In fact, these are the old style ones actually. Oh no, they're not. Don't know whether these are the old or the new ones. Hang on, let me see. Have I got a new one? Is this one the same? I don't know. I think the new ones have got like a felt. Yeah, I think that's the new nib with like a felt tip pen end. Okay, that's a basic black one. So I've got the original markers with the different end, but they've got both a brush tip and a fine tip, and I think they're a slightly different size. Yeah, these are a bit shorter and stuff. So, but they're all in the catalogue, and you can go and have a look at those. All available in all the colour families. There's a pack of 10. Coastal Cabana is a bright, Fresh Freesia is a neutral. So they would be in different packets. I happen to have them all, but you know, obviously, you know, you can get some packets of the colours that you like. And then the other bit of the really technical kit that we need is a piece of plastic. This is a piece of acetate that comes on with your stamps. Okay, so the photopolymer stamps. So this is the thicker piece that I get rid of, and I use the thin sheet to keep them dust free. So that's one of these cut in half. Okay, and it's just a slick surface. That's all you need, a slick surface. Okay, which we'll be able to add water to. So I've got a little spritz bottle of water there as well. In fact, I'm left-handed, so let's put that over there. So when we do in our smushing, all I'm going to do is use the brush end of this marker and basically just scribble. It's going to make a squeaky noise. Oh, it's not making a squeaky noise. It was making a squeaky noise before when I was doing this. Scribble some colour over that acetate. You're then going to wet it a little bit. So I found a couple of these spritzes was enough, really, because you don't want to over wet this basic white. It's not watercolour paper, so it will only take so much water. And I'm just going to let that sort of run a little bit on the on this piece of plastic, and it's so pale I don't even know. Oh, you might be able to see it a little bit. So let that run a little bit, and then you can basically smoosh it onto your cardstock, and you can twizzle it about and make some different sort of marks with it. And it's super random what you'll get. If it's a bit drier with less water, you're going to get darker blobs. It's got a smushy something on there. Okay, and then we can just wipe that off and use it again with our Coastal Cabana. Do the same thing, use the brush. Ooh, squeaky squeaky. And scribble that on. Again, a little spritz of water. I don't want a lot, because like I say, it's already curling up a little bit. Okay, so you don't want too much water on here, otherwise your cardstock's gonna get into a bit of a mess. So again, just letting that run a little bit. You could put a bit more water on if you wanted. It kind of depends on how intense you want the colour. So hopefully you might actually be able to see that a little bit better. I don't know whether you can or not. Okay, and we'll pop this down, and you can kind of bend it and use different parts of it and just smush it. Just have some fun with it, and to kind of just go with it. Just let the colour do what it's going to do, and kind of just live with it. Obviously it doesn't take a minute to do another one if you wanted to, if you really didn't like how it turned out and you ended up with a blob that you weren't intending. But obviously that will need to dry. Okay, so just in an effort to save a little bit of time, I've already done one off camera that's now completely dry, but you can see it has warped a little bit. Okay, I did put it under a block for a little bit just to help it flatten out, and it does obviously dry a little paler than it goes on. All right, so that's my little smushy bit already, so we can have that drying for another card, another project. And then the other thing we need to do is our inking and embossing on our Night of Navy layer here. Okay, so in the stamp set there is this lovely floral image, which is really nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off a little bit of this with some painter's tape, and I forgot to get some scrap paper out. This is the one I used before, so we'll cover up that bit so we don't bring in any of that ink, because I only want to ink up a portion of this. So we're going to move that to one side there and turn it on its side, and I'm going to use some low tack tape. So I like to use this frog tape. So this is a decorator's tape, which is designed for delicate surfaces. Okay, fresh painted or coated wallpaper. Okay, so it's quite reasonably priced. Okay, and we want a bit like that. And even though it is low tack, you get 2 rolls in that packet as well, and it's not too badly priced. I'm just gonna take some of the tack off. You can put it on your clothing or anything like that. In fact, I might just do that, just put it on my trouser leg, and it'll just take off a little bit extra tack so that it won't pull up your paper as you peel it off. Okay, so I'm using my grid paper here as well to just make sure that that is straight, although the cardstock's moved. Tape's straight, but the cardstock's moved. So I'm lining up the cardstock with a line, lining up the tape with a line, and just holding that in place. But again, I'm not going to press too hard. I don't want to risk getting that in a mess, basically. Okay, before I emboss, I am going to just use my blending brush. This is totally optional, I just felt like it put some contrast on it. My dark blue blending brush, and I'm just going to go over that masked edge there. I don't know what colour is in on the residual of this. Obviously you can go back to the ink pad and pick up some more of the Night of Navy ink, and it won't look like a lot, but it kind of it makes enough of a difference when you peel away that tape. So just going around those edges, but you don't have to do this bit. And like I say, probably not. You can see some blue ink is coming off there, but it's going to be really subtle until we take off that that strip of paper, tape. Okay. Now, before we emboss, we are going to use the anti-static powder tool, because that ink is going to be wet, right? So any wet ink will cling onto your embossing powder, and then I like to brush away the excess with the little brush that comes with the kit. Okay, and then we'll use the clear Versamark ink and this floral image to add our details on there. Okay, so lots of light tapping. I like to start in the middle when I'm doing something like this, and then work outwards. I've turned the stamp around to get a different part of the image, and then we'll pop another one up here. Ooh, that might have strayed over there, but it's fine. If we don't put the embossing powder over on it, it won't emboss. I think I've missed it. That's fine. So I can see in the light that that's covered enough of the project. Okay, running out of room. And we're actually going to just emboss this with clear powder. So the Wow embossing powders come in set of 3, and you can. So the clear comes with black and white, and then there is a metallics set. So you've got gold, copper, and silver. So gently peeling away that tape. If you put it down on a surface, you can use it again, and then we'll pop our powder over the top of this. Okay, so sit it on top, oops, give it a bit of a shake, tap off the excess. Okay, you might find that some of the adhesive of the tape catches some of the glitter. There's just enough residue on there, so just use the brush to tidy that up if it bothers you. Okay, some you might actually want it on there. We're going to be covering it up. And a sharp tap usually gets off most of that excess anyway. So you can see that defined line now a little better. Okay, a tidy tray helps us tidy, so we'll just funnel that powder back into the little pot, and we can get this heat embossed with our heat tool. Don't need the tweezers for this one because it's a big enough piece of paper, but you can use the tweezers if you want. This is going to be loud while I do this, so please do turn down your volume if you need to. Okie dokie. I'm going to heat it up and get it warm, and then bring it to the back and the front of this, and hopefully you'll see that white powder disappear and become clear. Okay, ready. Go. So if the heat gun's really good and hot, it embosses really quick. Okay, so that's just a top tip for you there. Get it nice and hot before you start. And of course it will, your paper will bend a little bit. Okay, so once that embossing powder is cool enough, you can rest it under a block and get that to flatten out a bit. But in the interest of time, we'll just crack on and get this adhered to our card. Okay, you don't want to be touching that too soon after you've melted it, because you will sort of smear it while it's still molten. Oops, must be some little bits of embossing powder on the desk. No system makes embossing powder not go everywhere, I'll tell you. Doesn't seem to matter what you do to try and minimise it. It'll end up on your surface somewhere. Okay. When I've got an embossed surface, I like to just run over it with like a tool or something, an embossing tool, or a bone folder is what I should say, just to help flatten that out. So my Night of Navy ink is just transferring onto my surface, so I'm just going to wipe that off. Still must be just a teensy bit wet. Okay. And then we can pop our baker's twine around it. So we've got this lovely essentials pack. So in the sample card, obviously they use the black, but of course the one I want is at the bottom. So you get 5, you get grey granite, black, very vanilla, white, and crumb cake, which is the one we want. Okay, it's a great value pack. And then the trick will be finding the end. So I used up the last of my other one on the other project. Now with baker's twine, I'd just like to, or ribbon in fact, I'm just going to secure that to the back with some tape, and we're going to wrap that round 3 times just to make it nice and you know, it adds a nice detail to it basically. Bit of texture. Okay, and we'll just trim off that excess, and then we will need this again to tie a little bow. But in the meantime, we will just get this stuck to our card with some dimensionals. Fresh pack of these as well, been going through these. Okay, the larger panel, so we'll make sure we've got the corners, we've got the sides, and then I like to put one in the middle of that, in the middle of there, just to sort of stop it from sinking in the middle. So enough, but not too many. And then obviously, you know, if it goes through the mailing system, they can get a bit sort of squashed. So you want that support in those other bits there. And then we can flip that over and put it onto our card base. Just make sure it's the right way up. And that's going to be about there. So we'll secure that in place. So here's our little panel here that we're going to stamp onto, and then it's a question of which way around do we want it. I'm going to go that way, I think. So we're going to use the Night of Navy to stamp with rather than bringing in another colour. Could use black if you wanted to, but I think it's just nice and keeps it all you know, coordinated if you use the matching ink. It's quite a large stamp, so just make sure you've got everything on there. And I've mounted this onto an E block. Okay. Then you just want to be mindful that you want to get the sentiment in there. So I'm pushing that as far into that corner as possible. Just eyeballing that. And we'll pop that down there. It's a bit harder with a warped piece of card. Oh, that's stamped beautifully. Excellent. And then the next trick is trying to make sure that your sentiment's straight, especially with a cling. And even with the stickers on, I do find it challenging to get cling sentiments lined up. And I'm really hoping that the beak of that doesn't end up on there. So what I probably should have done, oh there, oh, perfect, it's perfect, yay, okay. Straight and not covering the beak, excellent. Okay, so that looks lovely in the blue ink, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so in real life I think that probably looks quite black on camera, but in real life it definitely is not black. Okay, really cool, really like that. Right, let's just use some of this just in case that's a bit wet because it's transferring onto my surface. So I'm just going to use some Stampin' Seal. I'm putting extra on simply because I wouldn't normally put that much seal on. It's just because the cardstock's warped. I just want to make sure it sits nice and flat. Line up those corners. And again, we'll just press it on the back just to make sure that it helps flatten it out and make sure it's well stuck down. Lovely. Let's see how flattened that has become. That's really good, isn't it? Okie dokie. And then because we're not stamping, what do you call it? We're adhering that over this twine. So if you wanted to stick it flat, you'd end up with a lumpy bit. So I am going to use the dimensionals again. So I'm going to make sure all this side's supported. Do the same on the other side. Okay. And then a couple more just to support the middle there. Take those backings off. And you know, it doesn't actually matter because those middle ones aren't actually holding it in place necessarily. You don't actually have to take the backing off. I've seen that before where people just put them on just for the support. Okay, and then I opted to make sure that the border around the top left and right are equal-ish, rather than putting it lower down, which gave us plenty of space for the tails of the little twine bow that we're going to make. So you're going to want to double this up. Okay, now I'll just cut it down. Those aren't my ribbon scissors, but it'll do just for cutting that down. So whilst it's still doubled up, now I did find this hard with this plaster on. Had a little accident trying to put together something, and cut myself on some sharp plastic. And it bled quite a lot. Now doing it double is always a little trickier, so just be patient, and if you have to start again, you have to start again. Oh, making this look very hard, but again this plaster isn't helping me. Oh darn it, I lost my loop now. I've lost my loop. Hang on, lost my loop. I don't even know why am I let's make the loops nice and big. That will help. There we go. Right, I can definitely see the loops now. Pull it tight. Okay, and then I like to sort of wrap it on my fingers like that. And pull it tight. Make those bow loops. I've pulled that other one through now. Oh, dearie me. Crafting with a plaster on is challenging. This isn't the easiest thing in the world to do anyway. Bows with twine. So I just feel like I just can't get that right at the moment. Let's try that again. And I've got it too close to the end now, haven't I think? Oh. Right, okay. Oh, I'll be back. Right, I got there in the end. Okay, so I'm just going to cut those tails off at there. Okay, and then we can just use a glue dot to secure this to our card. Okay, so sorry about that. It's just I've got still sore fingers and thumbs today. Worked out a lot easier when I was doing it on my sample. So I'm going to fold that glue dot in half just to make it a bit smaller, and we're going to put it right on the edge of that topper there, and then add that little twine bow there, and I think we just need to make those tails just a little shorter, so we'll just do that. And we can make those, separate them out a little bit. There we go. Right, we got there. All for the sake of having a plaster on your thumb. That's made life a heck of a lot harder. Really like this colour combo, guys. Night of Navy, Coastal Cabana and Fresh Freesia. That's ace, right? And I love the contrast of the night of the crumb cake on the back of that. I don't dislike this colour combo either. I think this is nice. Mossy Meadow, Petal Pink and Crushed Curry, that was. Okay. Which kind of looks a bit more vintagey, whereas this one looks a bit brighter and fresher. That's my vibe on that one. Okay, and then you've got that little bit of shine from the embossing, okay, that, you know, the recipient's going to see. I would stamp the bird again in the side as well, just to jazz up the middle. But yeah, so I think that looks lovely. Case in the catalogue, like I say, this is part of the Project Share blog hop. The link to my blog is in the description. Hop along and see what everyone else has made as well. And yeah, that's my card for today. I really enjoyed making that. I like this smushing thing. It's the first time I've tried that. So yeah, excellent. Thanks ever so much for sticking with me. I hope you're staying safe. Do take care. Flus and colds going around at the moment, so hopefully you escape them. It's lovely to see you, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.